Chapter 1, 3 Part 3. Bai Yingying's color changed suddenly, but faster than her was the stick shadow in the sky. Xu Zhe stretched out his hand behind him and grabbed the dog-beating stick. Bai Yingying was caught off guard and was knocked back a few steps. The witch bug buzzed up. Yun Xuan shouted, "Be careful." Xu Zhe dodged and flew back, surrounded by dragons roaring in all directions. With one move, King Long Yahu rolled the air current into a roaring giant dragon, killing the goo insects in an instant. This series of actions was comparable to lightning, majestic and fierce. Bai Yingying managed to stand firm, and immediately a burst of rage shot straight above her head. "You!" As soon as Xu Zhe grabbed Yun Xuan, he shouted in a deep voice, "Let's go." Bai Yingying's anger was not trivial. She immediately raised her arms and raised her flute, and the shrill sound of the flute resounded throughout the night sky. As soon as Yun Xuan heard that sound, her expression suddenly changed. "No, she is summoning poisonous insects." Xu Zhe moved lightly, and he retreated several meters away, and his toes rose up at the top of the tree. "What poisonous insects? I don't know. Spirit snakes, green toads, red scorpions, wine centipedes, or ink spiders can randomly appear. Go." Xu Zhe had no time to ask more questions, and he flew out again in the roar of the wind. However, at this moment, the thick bushes under his feet suddenly became windless, and then the vibration intensified rapidly and roared. The huge dark shadow like a hill raised its head high. In the moonlight, the yellow lantern-eyed pupils tightened into cracks, spitting out bright red snake letters. It was a giant dragon-like spiritual snake. Yun Xuan's voice trembled. "This snake is very vicious. Don't be entangled by it. Be careful." Xu Zhe said that you still need to say it. "Is it very poisonous at first glance?" But it was too late to say these words, and the next moment, the shrill flute sound suddenly turned high, almost tearing everyone's eardrums with the momentum of breaking the clouds in the sky. The spirit snake was excited by the flute sound. Hissing angrily. With a bow, it hit Xu Zhe and Yun Xuan crazily. The poisonous black gas rushed in front of them immediately, but it was Xu Zhe who was faster than the poison gas. At almost the same moment, he pinched the dog-beating stick, and appeared 3 feet away in an instant, passing by the huge snake body, and immediately swung his stick. Dang! With a deafening sound, he resisted the silver flute stabbed by Bai Yingying. Bai Yingying sternly said, "The mere beggar gang is beyond its own power. I will take your life today, and then deal with that little girl." Xu Zhe raised his eyebrows and said with a smile, "Oh." The mocking expression appeared on his handsome face, but it looked extremely hateful. Bai Yingying had never been treated so lightly by a man, and she was furious in her heart. The silver flute in her hand became more and more vicious and precise. She tried to stab at the top of the head, throat, heart and other vital points. However, Xu Zhe could fight her head-on with dog-beating stick, and almost locked her to death with weapons, light and shadow all over the sky. On the other side, the spirit snake's attack failed, and affected by the master's anger, he became more arrogant. He rolled up on the ground, turned his head and charged towards Xu Zhe with his bright red mouth open. In those 10 millionths of a second, Yun Xuan's heart beat faster, realizing that the opportunity had come. No one noticed her, and no one could stop her. This once-in-a-lifetime opportunity came so unexpectedly. As long as she sneaked out of the battlefield in the dark, it would be difficult for anyone to find her trace in a moment. And at the same time, she could get rid of this beggar sect smoothly. Besides, with this orb in her hands, after a while, she will be able to practice extraordinary feats and stand alone in the world. From then on, she will be at ease. Who else should she be afraid of? To go, or not to go? The opportunity passed by, and Yun Xuan's heart almost forced herself to raise her feet back. Boom! Killing Mountain came with a tsunami, and in an instant, Yun Xuan was pushed out horizontally and smashed heavily on the tree trunk. She couldn't care about the pain. She got up and looked at it. Her pupils suddenly tightened, and she could hardly believe what she saw. At the moment when the spirit snake was rushing with the fishy wind, ᎢℋᎪNNɔ waved his staff and shot Bai Yingying's silver flute into the sky like lightning. At the same time, he swung his dog-beating stick. 9 shining dragons roared up, twisted the spiritual snake all over the sky, and immediately tore it into countless pieces of flesh and blood. The stench of snake blood and chunks of flesh spurted out in an explosive manner. ᎢℋᎪNNɔ came closer in the blink of an eye, and glanced at Yuan as he passed by. Although she felt that it was impossible for him to discover the deeds she wanted to sneak away before, but the moment they looked at each other, Yuan was still subconsciously a little empty. As if in front of the bright, half-smiling eyes, all her sneaky thoughts were visible. ᎢℋᎪNNɔ stretched out his hand and pulled her, "Run." The dark night as dark as ink was chaotically disturbed by the fighting and explosions. Not far away, Bai Yingying's screams full of anger and pain were heard, was left far behind. ᎢℋᎪNNɔ was very familiar with the terrain of the wilderness in the suburbs. He quickly ran miles away with the cover of night. It was not until there was no trace of snake fishiness in the air that he stopped in a dense bushes by the stream and pressed his knees to gasp. Yuan hurriedly supported his strong arm. "Are you injured?" She couldn't tell where her concern and anxiety came from. However, ᎢℋᎪNNɔ got up and said with a smile, "No, it's just some skin wounds. Tisk tisk, it's thrilling enough." The spirits of the 5 poison sect are closely related to their masters. Bai Yingying must not feel well when the spirit snake bombed like that. She will not have the energy to catch them within 10 days and a half. Yuan breathed a sigh of relief, only to hear ᎢℋᎪNNɔ said, "Poison Fairy has fallen into trouble here. The 5 poison sect will definitely not let it go, and Forgetful Island will not be able to stay for the time being. I will go to the ferry early tomorrow to hire a boat heading north, go to Dongting Lake and Xiangyang City to hide from the limelight." Yuan nodded, and was unexpectedly slapped on the head by ᎢℋᎪNNɔ. "Iya. You. What are you?" ᎢℋᎪNNɔ taught an old-fashioned lesson. "You little girl, you are really troublesome. Even demons like Poison Fairy have attracted, and why are you angry with me?" The hero did not suffer the immediate loss. Yuan immediately covered her head and changed her flattering face. "What is it? I didn't expect you to be so powerful." Even the old witch Bai Yingying dared to be tough. "It seems that I have to hug your thighs," ᎢℋᎪNNɔ said, "who said just now that she couldn't bear to implicate me and wanted to sneak away alone." Yuan was speechless and could only stare at him with her big eyes. "Are you dumb?" Yuan took a breath and was thinking of making a tall hat on the scene for Brother Beggar to wear, when suddenly her eyes fell on ᎢℋᎪNN's seemingly lazy smile and sharp eyes, and she felt a little drum in her heart. She was afraid that he would realize that something was wrong with Bai Yingying matter, and why the 5 poison sect chased her. However, she thought too much. ᎢℋᎪNNɔ only folded his arms and looked at her for a moment, then stretched out his hand to poke the girl's tender eyebrows, and said with a smile, "It's too late, let's rest. We have to stay a night in the wilderness, and go on my way tomorrow morning." The next morning, ᎢℋᎪNNɔ woke up to the sound of rushing water. He rubbed his eyes, stretched out for a long time, and as soon as he stuck his head out from behind the tree, he heard a scream. "Don't look back." The sky is bright in front of him, and the golden morning sun is sprinkled on the green grass by the stream. Yuan stood in the stream with her lower body, holding her dress with both hands to block the key parts of her upper body. Her almond eyes, which were already big and watery, became rounder, and she shouted hysterically, "Don't come here. Turn back. Turn back." ᎢℋᎪNNɔ quickly retracted back to the tree, and said angrily, "What? You're still a little girl, what's there to see?" After scrubbing 2 handfuls of hemerocallis, she climbed ashore and sneered, "If it doesn't look good, then what are you looking at?" "I didn't look. If you didn't see, why you said that this girl is a little girl. Shuze was choked, and after a long while he said, you just a yellow-haired girl, who wants to see you? If it's like Bai Yingying last night. Bai Yingying is an old witch. What do you know? The one who is raised in front and backward is called a woman. You are a small bean sprout. Who is the bean sprouts? Yun Xuan dressed and inserted a silver hairpin ring into her soft and thick black hair in front of the stream. Hearing this, she immediately replied back rudely, you are called ignorant of Mount Tai. What's worth seeing with Bai Yingying's gourd figure? How do you know that they didn't use some magic tricks to keep young forever? Although he knew she was talking nonsense, Shuze subconsciously made up for the scene where Bai Yingying was covered in worms, and shivered, sighing, ah, woman's jealousy. Ouch. Yun Xuan pinched his ear. This girl is jealous of that old witch? This is a statement of facts. Shuze was picked up, only to think that the little girl's green fingers were particularly tricky and powerful, and his ears were about to torn apart, so he struggled and said angrily, state the facts. Hurry up and let go, my ears will be pulled off, hiss. If you don't let go, be careful, I will make you regret. In the chaos, Shuze opened his mouth and let out a sharp sigh at Yun Xuan. The breath he didn't wash up in the early morning suddenly made the little girl take a few steps backwards. She was stunned. Having really encountered such a tragic incident, she covered her face with grief and indignation for a long while and said, hurry, get out of the way, and brush your teeth. End of chapter 1.